Team Spirit, nice. How about your shirt? And Jonelle says, right, we left our own toilets to sit on white people's and smell them like that was success. It was more sanitary when you have your own on all levels, absolutely. And so that, now the older generation would tell us, well, it was more to it than us just going to, sit in restaurants with white people and drink out of the water fountains and stuff like that. Sure, it was more to it than that, but look what happened. Look what happened to our own stuff. We don't have anything really to call our own. If we wanted to go out to dinner after the show, it'd probably be hard for us to find a black restaurant.
Especially out here in Riverside, California.
Yeah.
Inland Empire.
Like I said, if I wanted to go to a black grocery store.
Non-existent.
Yeah, especially not out here in,
you have to go to LA.
Southern California.
And even LA is questionable.
Right. So, I mean, we had all of that stuff back then, though. I mean, I talked to my dad and my mom when she was here, and they would tell me about, the Mr. and Mrs. such and such, they own the local this, that, and the other, and then there was these businesses and all of that. Your neighbors are wild.
They are.
But, they had all of these things that they could do. I rarely heard my mom, especially back then, say they had to go to, I even heard her talk about going to a black doctor, a black dentist. They had those things going on, but that stuff is not rare that there's a black doctor, but it's rare that there's a black hospital, type of thing. So we need those things, but that's what segregation did. The end of segregation, rather, integration. Yeah, Donovan's going to say hello to his neighbors.
Very nicely.
Yeah, it's like, not to deviate, but it's like you're in a neighborhood where it's quiet, and Donovan lives in an older part of the city where there's a lot of retired people. It's Sunday, and they're out there just revving, like in the middle. He lives in a cul-de-sac. In the middle of the cul-de-sac, just revving a motorcycle. It's like, what was wrong with people? Odd. But anyway, so what kind of things are you interested in learning about yourself as a black girl?
I want to know what I'm gonna be like when I grow up. What I look like, what I'll do.
Well, you know what you're gonna look like. You're gonna be cute like your auntie. Go ahead.
I want to know what I'm gonna do with my life after I turn 13, after everything else.
But specifically, well, I guess that was a pretty loaded question. What do you mean? I hate when people do that to me. Huh? Well, as long as I'm in the picture, I'm going to make sure you know as much as you need to know, and then some, because a lot of times our youth, they get out into the world and they have a rude awakening, because I actually know people, black people, if you will, who try to shelter their children. I don't want them to know about this. There's no more racism. Stop telling my kids about racism. It doesn't exist anymore. They have just as great of a chance as everybody. And it's like, what planet did you move from Mars or something? What planet are you from? No.
Newsflash, still exists.
It still exists, and you're 12, and I'm 21. But I would venture to say it's getting worse. Now, are they lynching black people like they used to? No, they are still lynching black people. We just don't hear about it. You know why we don't hear about it? Because we own less than 3% of the media.
It's not appropriate to talk about in public.
Right, but why do you think it's not appropriate to talk about those things?
Because it makes them uncomfortable, even though their people, if you will, I guess, did it.
Right, because it's this ugly truth, if you will, but it is the truth, right? And so the other part of that, a good point, but the other part of that is we own less than 3% of the media, and so when you don't own the media and control the media, you don't control the narrative, and so you will rarely hear about those type of things. I don't take no
shit, okay?
I see it got real quiet out there.
Okay, then.
The block captain has no.
He really is the block captain too.
No, they're all good.
Okay, then.
So,
moving on.
But so if we don't control the narrative, then we can't get those things out there. Like a lot of people to hear that there's still some lynchings going on. Like, are you serious?
What?
Think about this. Well, we know why, but why did he have Kamala and Tim Scott and Cory Booker trying to get this anti-lynching law passed? if lynching is still not happening?
Because it's a federal situation to where it really doesn't mean. It's like when Bush passed the non-discrimination of federal police. There's no such thing as federal police.
What does all that even mean?
Exactly. But it makes it seem like they're doing something. That's what I'm saying. When you're on the highway, there is no national federal police driving up and down the interstate.
So you're just passing a law for nothing.
Right. To make it seem like they're doing something. That's all it is.
And Jonelle says, you can see enlightenment on your niece, a young leader and teacher as well as one of our great young thinkers. All praises due to Allah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
But you know what? I must say this too. Her parents are very smart people. Her parents, one half being my brother, my younger brother, and the other half being my sister. I don't call her my sister-in-law. My sister, Elena. They're very intelligent people.
Yes.
So
my mom does math every day, and my dad's a teacher. So.
and her mom, her grand.
You want to come up here? But anyway, does that put a lot of pressure on you to succeed?
Yes, definitely. Because
I mean, in a good way or a bad way?
bad way. Because like sometimes if my grade goes down like 2%, I'll be like, oh no, I'm failing. It's kind of scary.
Kind of scary.
Like,
Are you failing? No.
No, but it's kind of scary. It's like my grade will go down from like an A to a B, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? It's kind of scary because you kind of think like if you don't become this really great person or you don't have this accomplishment, what are people gonna think of you? Like your parents are like living their best life, and being a professor. And my mom does math every day. Like she's really smart with that.
She's in accounting. Her mom.
Yes. So it's kind of pressuring. Like if I don't do the good in this subject or this subject, what's gonna happen? Like are people gonna be like, oh,
you feel like you're being judged?
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
Just keep living. I'm just
Yes.
playing. The old people used to say,
Yeah.
just
No,
keep
well,
living.
I'm going to say this. I got a lot of degrees and stuff like that. My mom was a very smart woman back in her day, held records, whatever, counting stones or whatever, because my mom's that old. But anyway.
Tell your mom said that too.
But here's the thing. Always remember this. No matter how much pressure you think you're under, regardless of that pressure that you think you're under, your parents are proud of you no matter where you go.
A diamond is a chunk of coal that did well under pressure.
Yes.
Who told you that?
There you go.
I don't know. I just found that.
Oh.
But it makes sense. It makes
Deanna
sense.
told me you said that, yes. And then what did you say about 5 minutes? A decision 5 minutes right now, won't matter?
Oh, if it's not gonna matter, if you're not gonna remember it 5 years from now, don't spend 5 minutes on it.
Good
Words
advice.
to live by.
Good advice.
And so Jonelle says it shows about your the
Glow.
roots that you have in your life. And Pamela, hello, he says she can be a journalist on the news.
That also would be fun.
That she said that also would be fun. And Selena says it is possible to rebuild the Black Wall. Is it possible to rebuild the Black Wall Street again? What should be the foundation starting point for us to unify? I think it's very possible for us to build the Black Wall Street again. But Jonelle talks about this a lot. And, Jonelle is in the Nation of Islam. And if you ever read the message to the Black man in America, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talked about it in the book, is that I think the foundation is for us we have no knowledge of self. That's one thing, and we don't have love of self. Now, when I say love of self, love of who we are as Black people. So those are the foundation, because Jonelle always says you protect what you love. You do for what you love. And so we loved ourselves, and we loved ourselves as Black people. We are going to protect our legacy and our very existence and our very being, right? We will realize it's important for us to have our own stuff, which was what Black Wall Street was. It was a Black town, a conglomerate of livelihood. Everything Black people needed to survive, like we need now, was Black owned. Black Wall Street in Oklahoma, I think they had 2 or 3 hospitals. Mm-hmm. They have schools, they have grocery stores, everything you needed, they had it there. And so they, for one, they had to be together because it was segregated, but I think there was this big sense of community. They loved each other, they looked out for each other. I mean, hell, even I'm not talking about the they, that's the narrative. I'm talking about the people, the survivors of Wall Street will tell you they protected the young man, Jesse. I forget his name. I think that was his name. I could be wrong, but they did all they could to protect him because if you ever heard about what happened with Black Wall Street, you know what that is?
No, but it sounds like a black newspaper.
No, well, Black Wall Street is basically in Oklahoma, Greenwood, Oklahoma, in the early 1900s. It was destroyed by a mob of white terrorists.
Jealous white terrorists.
Yeah, and I think what they did was a young man, a black young guy, I think it was like 17 or 19, something like that, was accused of doing something he didn't do. And so a mob of white men went into the town and destroyed it and burnt it down. Burnt down the whole town, the whole black town.
And they recently found a mass grave.
Yeah, they destroyed everything they had. It was the first time in American history that bombs were dropped
on American citizens.
So that, you look it up too. Look up Black Wall Street. And so they had everything they needed.
See, and here's one thing you got to take from that story too. Through all of this adversity, we're still here.
Right. But the point that I'm making is, so they were protecting what they loved. They loved each other, and they being the black citizens, the black men of Greenwood, or Black Wall Street, if you will, were protecting this young man. They didn't want anything to happen to him, and they stood out with guns and everything. It says, over our dead bodies.
And that's what happened.
And he didn't die because they were looking to lynch him.
Right.
They were looking to murder him over something he didn't do. It was a lie. And so those citizens went to the death to ultimately protect him and try to protect what they built. Now, obviously, we know it didn't work because it's no longer there. Now there's a mural, a monument of the people who lost their lives there. And so that was never rebuilt. Now, that's not the only time it's happened in history. There was a lot of black towns that were destroyed by white terrorists.
Yeah, a lot in the South. A lot of them in the South.
It's not like we've never had it. It's just every time we had it, it was destroyed. That way.
Now you go to a charter school, which is really good for geniuses. But that's another reason why they don't teach that, because when you don't know about it,
it goes away.
It goes away, right? So
we need you, and it's our responsibility to teach you so that it continues. We don't want those stories to become lost, because to your point, it is beneficial for white, and I'm going to get to you guys in comments, it's beneficial for white supremacy for those stories about us to go away, because then we forget and we don't have anything to, hold on to. Because a lot of times people say, oh, that's in the past. You need to forget that, buddy. You heard of the Holocaust, right? Mm-hmm. They taught you all about the Holocaust, right?
No, I taught myself.
There you go. You taught yourself, but did you hear about it through school?
I heard it through school.
You've heard about the Holocaust. So you know about the Holocaust. Do you know that what happened to black people during slavery is a Holocaust?
It's a Holocaust.
Yeah, and so it was worse. Not that the loss of human life is there's one worse than the other, but what black people went through in America is worse. So anyway, let me get to these comments. And so so the foundation for us unifying is, first of all, get love of self, knowledge of self, and the rest will fall in line, right? Hey, Mark, he says, good teaching, sister. Thank you. And he says, I have, Salinga. And Marcus says, truth is, you will never have peace in the devil's den under the devil's rule. We can fight and even separate, but to move next door to still among devil, to truly separate is to leave these devils. So that's the thing. People say we need to separate, and I honestly believe that we do need to separate. I mean, we're never going to be in peace. And I don't understand I always ask people, what's so bad about living with your people like yourself? You go to any other community, and I say community, talk about the Hispanic communities, the Asian community, they live amongst themselves. Mm-hmm. They're not saying, I don't want to live next. Like, we're the only people that say, I ain't living next door to them Negroes. Mm-hmm. I don't want to live next door to black people, because black people, I want to go live in a white neighborhood. And like I said, chaps my hide when I hear parents say, I want my kids to go to a white school, a better school. So you won't send your kids, as you said, Marcus, into the den, the lion's den, where the devil dwells, and have your kids be ridiculed and taught how they're ugly, they're nobody.
They were slaves.
They're slaves. You don't belong. We're still seeing that. We saw it was a clip. I don't know if you've seen that, because her social media reach is limited because her parents don't allow her to, which is, thank God, right? They don't allow her to just roam free on the internet. But did you guys see there's a school somewhere where these two kids, white kids, walking to the school with KKK robes on?
Yep.
They just walk into the school like, hey, it's no big deal.
Right.
Where did they get that idea that it's okay to do that? Like, they're just kids being kids. They were joking. So we still live
Not
in
funny.
a
Kids
world.
like that are not joking if they know what they're doing.
Well,
That's not just.
But then,
that's
they're
just
children. Maybe they
But
don't
what
know.
did they say though? They didn't know.
They
They
didn't
didn't
know,
really
right.
know
That's
what
not
it
true.
was.
but
that is not true, and you know it.
right. Yeah, but here's the funny thing. Now you look at Malia and Professor Smitty's children, right? They limit what they watch. They monitor their kids. Their kids are very structured. Your kids are into certain things. Isaac's a very intelligent person. So on, so forth. These are the same thing that white people do, but the image of us is, our kids are just in the streets. We're just everywhere, we don't care about our children.
I mean, and I don't think our kids are any more in the streets than anybody
Anybody
but
else,
like you
right.
said, that's the image that is projected. And so let's see, and then Mark, you put up a website. I can't really see it because it's hard to see. It says Fortune in the Hood or something like that.com. We'll check it out. And Selinga says most blacks don't know who they are and where do they go to self-identify. Well, again, that starts with us teaching it. I do realize some people don't want to know who they are. They want to believe that they are who white supremacy told them they are. It's very hard to teach people different than what they've learned their whole lives, if you will. And so we got to start with the young people. Donovan and his cat.
Which cat is that?
This is T'Challa.
That's going to start with us teaching them who they are now. We don't want to wait until they're older and they've learned the old ways of doing things, the old ways of white supremacy.
I pretty much grew up in at the start of the nursery in church and have gone through all the way to youth. So I've grown up with that teaching. So if you start, I'm just living proof right here that if you start young, it's going to continue on. That belief is going to continue on in the future and in the future and the present.
So it's important what you teach your children. Absolutely. Good point. And then let's see. And yes, Rosewood, he's talking. That's another example of a black town that was destroyed by white terrorists who were jealous. And ultimately, white people...
Sounds like a pretty town.
It's actually a movie, but Google that too. Rosewood. And then you also say Dean was happening. I can say hello to you as well. Mississippi, it also it happened. Yeah, it happened in probably every... state in America, especially in the South and all of that. I mean, it was just, especially where the Klan was riding. The Klan, the Klan is KKK. They didn't want black people to have anything. They terrorized black people, just to death.
There was no such thing.
To Kill the Mockingbird.
To Kill a Mockingbird. Yes, did I show you that movie? Yeah, I showed you
Gregory
To Kill a
Peck.
Mockingbird.
Awesome. There was no such thing as terrorism until the white man in America invented it.
Right. And there's still a lot of terrorism going on. And Jonelle says, right, Queen, all things is done out of love. This white society doesn't feed us love and self-awareness. That wouldn't be wise for them, although it would be their salvation. It'll be their salvation, but they do invest in our degradation, our insecurities, miseducation, our negativity, as well as make sure we have the toxic tools on all levels to feed our demise and bad mental state of being in bad health, and our Holocaust is every day. It is. It's a black Holocaust going on every day in every way, shape, or form. You name it. As I was telling Al the other day, I said we are first in everything bad and last in everything good. And I'm not trying to be negative. It's just the fact. And I think that's another thing, too. We got to get comfortable with the truth, because if we don't get comfortable with the truth, we won't fix the lie. You know what I'm saying? We have to understand what's going on. And people think, the truth should be... No, the truth is going to hurt a lot. The truth is going to hurt a whole lot. But it just needs to... We need to get comfortable with that. And so we are living a Holocaust every day as black people. And Donald says, hey, my mom is going to be on the show. Is my mom going to be on the show?
Not right now. She's
busy.
She's busy.
And Selena says, right. And Marcus says, why do we promote black investment among black people in a country that will take what they want and reconstruct law and taxes to take it in a white and legal way? We have zero chance of long term in this country as people and 50 plus years. No, so I agree with you on that, but we here. That's the thing.
We're here.
You guys know Marcus Garvey. You ever heard of Marcus Garvey?
I think so.
Yeah, so Marcus Garvey, who was trying to, he invented Pan-Africanism, if you will. He was trying to get black people everywhere to go back to Africa to unify and say, hey, let's blow this joint. There's nothing here for us in America. In the early 1900s, 1921, when it came to a halt, 1925, I think it was. He had 3 million black people worldwide on board. This was before social media, television, all of that. He had 3 million black people worldwide. Word of mouth is just a mean ground game. Let's go back to Africa. And he said there are some Negroes that are no good here, and no doubt they'll be no good over there. So we're going to have to leave some people behind.
That's right.
Marcus, we can't hardly get people to go to a black rally.
Right.
Let alone
come out to the polls.
Go out to the polls, or we're talking about the voting polls now.
Yeah, Polls. Yeah, polls.
So, to get them to go back to Africa, I think we got to start small. And a lot of times, too, I think that's, as I give that analogy, a lot of times we try to save the world instead of let's just start at home. But no, ideally, I would love to go live in Africa. As you know, we went there and we were blown away, you know. And her mom is actually like, let me know when you guys go because I want to go with you.
There you go.
Kids and stuff. Yeah, so... but I think ideally it would be nice. But hell, we don't hurry up and get back to Africa. That ain't going to be there for us either because everybody else is over there staking their claim.
Yep, right now as we speak, a bunch of white folks are over there and buying
Asian,
up stuff.
Yeah, they're just, taking it like, okay, y'all don't want it. We'll get it, you know. And Jonelle says, let me see more. You say, whites fear us in unity because they feed off our disunity as well as their... world for over 400 years economically has benefited from our disunity, lack of knowledge and self-hate. So when someone comes teaching black unity, they're magnified as an enemy, falsely accused because of love and especially self-love gives everything its empowerment. Just touch a beehive or smack a lion in a crowd. No, absolutely. So to your point, unfortunately, a lot of our leaders have met an awful demise because, as it is said, J. Edgar Hoover, he wanted to stop the rise of a black Messiah. What's a Messiah?
It's like another word for Jesus.
Yes, or somebody who was looked upon highly. So good, correct. So he wanted to stop that because the last thing you want is for black people to actually wake up and say, oh, this is what they didn't want us to know. You know, so we don't need that. We need to keep black people in a dead state of being in every way, shape, or form. So that there is no revolution, if you will, physically even, financially, mentally. We don't need them to have a revolution.
Mass exodus, somebody to lead them out of.
Yes, of the state that we're in. And so there's a lot of people who are afraid to be leaders. But, like I said, lead the people you know first.
Sure.
They used to say revolution will not be televised. It ain't going to be on Facebook either. And nor should it, Some things need to be done on the ground.
Well, really, if people really research it, a lot of black people are migrating back to Africa.
Yeah, you ain't lying. I'm trying to be one of them. Al just won't go with me. And Marcus says, why do we promote a black investment among black people in the country? Oh, I think I read that one. Okay. Yeah, so I know what you meant because he messed up the bottom. And Patricia says, truly... truth is definitely needed. Absolutely. Like, we got to stop first lying to ourselves and stop lying to each other. Like, one thing I never did is tell my daughter, everything's fine. There is no racism. You're all, my daughter went to school knowing the truth. That way, when she heard certain things about her, it didn't hurt because she already knew. She knew who she was. I always tell you guys a story of when it was St. Patrick's Day. She invited me into the back to school night or whatever the case is. She says, Mommy, which one is my leprechaun? Of course I knew it was the black one.
Right.
It was the only black one on there. I said, that's your leprechaun. She said, that's my leprechaun, Mommy. And she's like 5, But I taught her those things. I don't need you to be drawing in no color book somebody that don't look like you. I didn't buy no white dolls. And I have relatives who thought that was just the most horrible thing. Well, why can't your daughter play with white dolls? I said, because for one, I couldn't play with none. My dad, you could not bring no white dolls in my house. Not that there's anything wrong with a white doll for somebody else. Right. It was something wrong with a white doll for me because he was not going to allow me to play with something that didn't represent me. Right. Because what happens is we get our kids who, want to be white.
Right. The deciding factor in the Brown versus the Board of Education, that's in 1954, was the fact that they deemed that it was harmful to black children because the little black girls would always pick the white doll over the black doll,
Yeah.
and thought that the white doll was prettier, and think it was a
Like
As an
what do you call it?
experiment.
Ruby
Yeah.
Bridges, like
Right.
the movie.
Yeah.
right.
And so Marcus wanted me to finish his comment. Okay, so because I thought I read it, it says we have zero chance of long term in this country as a people. Oh, I see what you got cut off. I'm in this as a people, and 50 plus years have made that fact. We need to teach our kids that they can leave and build where they are welcome and everywhere they belong. Absolutely, that's a great concept. Teach our children there's nothing wrong with being in Africa. Africa, like, because a lot of people. I mean, I even talk to black people today. It's like, so was it lions and tigers and bears running around? And, you know, just how many jungles did you have to escape from? It's like,
Yeah, very ignorant. Yeah, we're at the bottom of the we're at the bottom of the continent that has no jungles.
Yeah, all the trees were brought in.
Not
Right.
Wakanda.
Yeah, right.
Right, so absolutely, we do need to teach our children about Africa.
You know, what's really sad is, and I say this on my other show, and I say this on this show, Americans are very ignorant when it comes to travel. But as you saw, as a black man, I could walk anywhere, and I'm not the problem. So black people could go anywhere in the world, literally.
They was like, Denzel!
Right. But no, but literally, a black man can walk anywhere in the world, and really nobody's going to bother you unless you get here. You know what I mean?
Take your word for it, brother.
You know what I mean?
Team spirit.
Yes, team spirit. And your brother's laughing at your mom is busy.
Yeah, she's with
Brandon.
AJ and everybody else like that.
Yes, and then Marcus said we may not can change for the older heads, but we need to introduce our children to the world. We have to tell our kids that they can leave, that there is a even greater opportunity outside this hell. We can't keep making babies to suffer this abuse. And you know what?
I agree.
Like I've talked to a lot of millennials, if you will, and they're just like, I'm not having no kids. This is a horrible state of affairs to bring more children into the world. I mean, it's sad, you know.
If you don't want no food, continue doing that. There's plenty. I'm just gonna make this point. I make this point almost all the time. If you don't need to have kids, but there's plenty. There's no reason to have more if there's plenty of other kids who are waiting for a family.
So like adoption and stuff.
Yes.
And so and that's a good point to bring up too. We need to adopt our own children. We often hear people lament about, these celebrities are adopting the black kids, and no white people should be adopting the kids. And Angelina Jolie and Madonna's, all these people, Charlize Theron, who actually has adopted a boy, but now he is identifying as a girl. So we complain about other white people adopting black children. I'm like, okay, well, great. Let's see your adoption application.
Right.
Oh, well, so we can't complain about them doing it and then us not doing it as well.
But yet we wonder why these black children, are missing.
Right. I mean, like, where are these kids going? You know, and in Jonelle.
And a lot of these kids get lost in the system itself. You know?
Correct. And Jonelle says, change is spirit, and change makes a nation insecure, tyrants even more insecure if the lie is going well, and bring much gain and benefit to those telling the lie than the ones who will speak the truth is spirit, and makes those lying insecure and full manifest killers, in which a liar is. A liar is a murderer, and that's the European Zionist-owned American nation. Absolutely. And then you also say, Brandon, I was called an African booty scratcher in school. I was called that.
Yep. Who hasn't?
I was talking about, you look at your thank God.
Thank God,
but
yeah.
you know you're not that, right?
What kind of question is that?
But a lot of kids will do, are not taught knowledge of self, But I was called those things. You got a big butt, your big nose,
big lips,
your big lips, and guess who paying all that money for that stuff now? I'm glad I didn't get rid of it.
Right. That's an asset, not a liability.
One of my teachers last year, we're gonna have him in 8th grade because he switched grades. Me and this girl I was sitting next to, she's black. She's one of my friends. He asked our permission before showing a video that I think from Ruby Bridges, I believe. He asked our permission before that. It didn't feel uncomfortable. It was actually I felt okay with it because of the things in the movie. It kind of made me a little bit worried about the girl. In the end, it was a good movie.
Why do you think he asked your permission?
Because it was about people who look like us.
And and it's weird that she says that. It was not weird. It's funny she says that because I remember when they would play movies kind of like that. And,
school
when we were younger,
with the big old.
And you just felt like the spotlight on
Right.
you.
Right.
And a lot of times we were the only black kid in class, and so it's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah,
we gotta watch this movie about us.
Yeah, I remember in 1977 when Roots premiered, and it was a big thing. I went to Catholic school, and me and my brother are only kids black kids in the Catholic school, and they premiered Roots at the school. I mean, it was just an uncomfortable situation for us.
Imagine.
They're like, really? Is it like? And they started asking us like we were there. It's
right.
like,
and then of course you have that one kid in the class. Well, it's not our fault.
Right.
That was so long ago. Why are we talking about this?
Right. I got my little afro, my J5 on point, and then they wanted to just touch your hair and just touch,
Oh no, see, Yeah, I ain't no pet now.
My dad said never let a white person touch my hair.
That's
Yes,
right.
That's right.
And you ain't
That's
no
right.
pet.
That's right.
You can go pet your own self.
But I want you to hold that thought because I'm going to ask you a question about your dad.
Okay, sure. So, and then Marcus says, Akon is basically promoting Pan-Africanism to African Americans by himself. Do we understand crazy that is considering all the powerful black voices that have been and are secretly buying land and homes in Africa? Yeah, and a lot of them aren't even doing it so secretly. They are buying land in Ghana, South Africa. There is this migration of black people in America that just say, "Hey, I'm out of here."
That's it.
And we talk about Steve Harvey all the time. He said he's going to be living in South Africa 8 months out of the year. I think he just realized, hey,
I can live better and less stressful.
Gosh, I'm telling y'all, it's so much less stressful over there in Africa. It's just like it was just like the stress blanket just came off of you. It's just like every day, just hey, you're around your people. Like to me, that was the best feeling in the world to be in the majority. Out here in the States, we're not in the majority, but to be in the majority.
Right.
That sounds good.
It was just like, gosh. Now this feels like home.
Right.
You know?
It takes you like a day or two to kind of assimilate to it. Once you do, you're like, oh, everything's fine.
Yes. And hello, Alexa. I hope I said that right. It says, sister, if you don't do kid, the American will be white. God bless all of your family and peace be with you. So
Thank you.
If you don't kid, the American... I think what you're probably... if I can kind of fill in the blanks, if you don't teach your children about who they are, if you can help me clarify that. And Jonelle says... it says... right, our children need a future, and we will give them a future in their own land as God has ordained. By all means, have children and raise them in reality. Don't kill them with Santa Claus or Satan Claus. From the cradle, our young generation is our greatest investment in wealth. They have the blueprint of the kingdom and God in their DNA, as the Honorable Minister Farrakhan teaches. So bring children in this world, for they will be our change, a.k.a. resurrection, a.k.a. resurgence. Absolutely.
Hey, amen. Amen.
I said was a point in here that you said. So, of course, do you believe in Santa Claus?
Not really.
Not really?
Not really. You believe in the spirit of Santa Claus. Like, the
I believe in
season.
the spirit of Christmas.
Yeah, the spirit of
Do
Christmas.
you believe a man comes down the chimney and gives you gifts?
No.
Do what your uncle said. You see somebody come down the chimney.
Here's what my opinion on Santa Claus is. My brother and sister and I just told them this a couple of days ago.
You ruined their
Santa
Christmas.
No, they don't really believe in Santa Claus. I said Santa Claus is a man who comes into your house, takes your milk and cookies, and then if you're good, gives you presents. But if you're bad, he'll give you magical coal that transports you to the North Pole, making you an elf until you become a good child.
Wow.
And, of course, they was like, they didn't believe that one, did they?
No.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then Shelly says, yeah. Hello to you, by the way. Yeah, I remember those days. Yeah, that was the most awkwardest moment. Okay, we're going to play Negro films.
Yeah. Mandingo.
Yeah.
What?
No, they ain't playing no Mandingo now.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, we're going to... like about history.
Antebellum, the antebellum stuff.
It's like, do we have to really?
Right. See, you black folks, you were always slaves, and we came and saved you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's the narrative they really want to teach you. You don't have it so bad now, do you?
Right. You got to be thankful.
Go ahead and read that last comment.
Everyone needs that trip to the motherland to kick it with the fam.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't care if you don't do nothing else in your life, black people, go back to Africa.
Yes.
It's a game changer. Like I said, I want to actually live over there.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, Wakanda is not real.
No, it is real.
It is, but it is.
No, it is real.
Okay,
The State
you know
Department.
what?
No, really, there was a thing in the State Department where they were like trading, and it was actual State
Black
Department
Panther
thing.
you gonna get is the Black Panther Party.
There you go. There you
That's
go.
right. You know about the Black Panther Party?
I read about Fred Hampton.
All right.
Fred Hampton, there you go.
All right now.
Wait. We got about 10 minutes to go, at least on the
Sure.
podcast thing.
Sure.
I want to ask you real quick. Now, not saying you're an unusual person or like that. Now, you have both of your parents in the home, and I'm going to ask you specifically about your father.
Okay.
How important is your father to you in your life?
Very.
I mean, could you expound, what is it about your dad that, is it because he's a protector? He does, do you feel safe and secured and guided?
I would say I feel very safe with my dad because
He's a big dude now.
both my parents have raised me to believe that if there's any trouble at school,
Sure.
well, my mom is gonna. She said she's gonna call you and me and Wanda.
Right.
One, and my dad is gonna go on the inside, and he's gonna take care of it. Because there was this one time, this kid made a very, very, very racist joke in school,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and so he was like, "Okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna talk to the teacher. I'm gonna talk to the district."
There you go.
I think I feel very safe with my dad because I know if there's a problem, he'll take care of it.
He'll take care of it.
Especially with my mom as well.
So as right now you're a young lady, but as you get older and you go to college and you one day you're going to get married and stuff, you know that you have that father influence to advice and things like that. But it's pivotal. Now, if your dad wasn't in your life, where do you think would be? In comparative now, let's say you take your dad out of the position right now. Where would you be right now? I mean, you got extended family, you got your other son, but like I'm saying, just think about you have your dad in your life. To not have him,
Me too.
Yeah.
Brandon's not going to move to Wakanda.
yeah. To not have him would be like you can't even fathom it.
I really can't because I feel like having my dad in my life is like needing air, like oxygen. Because it's like both parents in the house is to be there around for you is like oxygen. Because my dad brings like what's the word, like liveliness as much as my mom does, and he does he does his best to take care of us, and so does my mom. And I feel like both of their work just complements each other.
So by seeing both of them, do you look at yourself and say, I want to be like my parents when I get married one day. I want to have that partnership.
Yeah.
That's how important it is.
And that's very important. And I impress upon everybody, do your best to try to stay together. And I actually use my niece and her siblings as example because when they talk to me about certain things, they don't say, well, my mama said.
Right.
My daddy said. What do you guys say? My what?
My tia said.
No, but when you got to ask, you got to ask my what?
My aunt.
My parents. Well, she says parents.
Right.
She says she don't say, well, my mama.
Yeah.
And
I said my mommy. I said mommy, and they said this, not this.
Right, but they refer to their parents.
Right. When it comes to decisions,
a lot of times,
my parents. Could ask my parents.
It's becoming. We're not hearing that a lot, especially in our community.
Monolithic.
Like parents.
Yeah.
And we need to start hearing that more, which means that she has both parents in the home. Mm-hmm. They're moving as a unit. Mm-hmm. They're not raised to think, oh, well, I'm a, my mama is
over here, my dad's over there.
My dad.
Right.
My parents they move as a unit. I got to make sure they're okay with that because when you asked me to come on the show, what did I tell you to do?
Ask my mom and dad.
Ask your mom and dad. Mm-hmm. And she asked her parents.
And when I asked my dad, he said, "Did you ask your mom too?"
yeah, dad always defers. Right. Dad always defers.
Right. So that's what we need to start doing. And I got older nieces and nephews. And they're on the relationships and stuff with with kids. Yes, and
except for the ones with Lily, Mia, and just the little ones.
What'd you say about them?
Except for the ones with Lily.
But what'd you say before that?
Oh, they're not very fun.
Oh, said they're not. She said that her my older niece and nephews aren't very fun.
Some of them can be like Gianna, Brittany, Khalid.
They're older.
Cousins,
yeah.
Teenage ones.
But I impress upon them. You guys need to start forming unions that you're going to stay in because what you'll do is end up. Now, tell my nephews you'll end up producing. The ones that are married to black women. You're going to end up producing more single black moms. So you guys need to figure out a way to stay together You guys need to stay together for the culture. We need to start raising children that understand what our family unit is. Right? We need to stop creating schisms. We need to get rid of the division that goes on in our community. Like I have one nephew, and I'm just going to be transparent with you. He's married, but he's married to the he's got the only black woman he's married to, and for some reasons, the rest of the family, they won't admit it, but I see this. They see her as headstrong. She too this and she too that. And I told them straight up.
Independent.
No, well, she's not necessarily independent, but she's an independent thinker. And I said, the problem with y'all is y'all not used to black women. Y'all used to these other women, no shade to them, who act differently than black women. And so
being modest does not mean being quiet.
But so they're not used to hearing a woman, speak her mind, if you will. And I'm not talking about that. What you ain't gonna do. I ain't talking about that. They're not used to a black woman. They're not used to black women. Period. Besides myself, and so they try to label her as an outcast, outsider. She doesn't, do this and she doesn't do that. And I said, y'all need some more black women in your life. That's what you need. There's nothing wrong with her. And so we need for us to stay together. Period. At the end of the day, get over your issues.
Yep.
Whatever those may be, we need black people to start staying together because we are stronger together. It's hard to get black people in general, as a whole, to unify if we can't unify in the house.
And the sad thing is, if we don't start doing that and keeping the families intact and start making babies as a family unit, we will remain at 13% of the population, which we've been there almost for 50 years. Yep. We are not growing.
Yep. And that's what we need to teach the children. And Shelly says, I love this child.
Who doesn't?
Yes, she's having her own show. What's the name of your show? And where can we see it? Haven't thought about it yet? Okay, give me an outline and we'll work on it.
Okay.
And Kunta Kinte, we got Kunta Kinte on the show. What's happening? It says, hey, family, love all of you from West Africa. See,
right.
Watching from West Africa. What part of West Africa? And Marcus says, just remember the Dred Scott law is still on the books.
Yes, still on the books.
For a reason. And now, it doesn't matter how they say the law is dead, it's still on the books in a way. So what's the Dred Scott?
Isn't that like the one where a man escaped from the South to go to the North, and they tried to bring him back because they didn't think it was okay? Even though they said that if you did not live in the South and you were not a slave, you were officially free.
So he was fighting for what?
Freedom.
This freedom. And what did the law say as far as him as a black man?
They were like, oh, you can't do that. You got to go back.
And that he has, what does it say? I was in my mind.
He has no rights that a white man needs to respect.
So that's very good. Very good. There's not a lot of 12-year-olds who would even know who it is. They're talking about some dreads.
And basically, Dred Scott and slaves were considered property. So that's another reason. So he had no legal standing.
And to Marcus's point, a lot of people don't know it. It still stands.
Yeah, it still stands, right.
Of course, there's some amendments and things like that. Why not just
take it off
get rid of it, right. And we need to ask ourselves, why not completely get rid of it? Because that technically still stands today. We know, especially in America. And you guys on the podcast, thank you so much for being here. We will talk to you guys next week.
Yes, absolutely.
You can always find us on Facebook, Demetra K. If you want to join in on the discussion, we'd love to have you. So that's another thing, too. We can talk about this another time. The laws in America were never designed to benefit black people. In fact, they were designed to hold black people down. Hence, the penal system as a majority of black people locked up in prison, due to a lot of laws that were meant to protect us, but you know the story. And Marcus says,